Good evening and welcome. You're watching Breaking Views, the only show where we get you all the views so that you get the complete picture. I'm Sanket Upadhyay. We're first going to talk about the National Herald case, where the Congress led a Satyagraha march from the Congress office to the ED office, where Rahul Gandhi is facing questioning twice in one day. Is this, as the BJP alleged, an attempt to cover up a potential crime? Or is this the heralding of a newfound aggression in the Congress party? Show of strength or theatre? There is a massive BJP versus Congress fight going. So that debate is going to begin in just a short moment from now. Also on the show, the big buck theory as far as the Indian Premier League is concerned, which has now become some sort of a Indian Paisa League, mind-blowing money per match. What does this mean? We decode, we speak to industry experts in just a short moment. But before we begin this broadcast and talk about the National Herald case and the politics of it, it is extremely important for us to understand what really was the case and who said what. Here is an easy to understand explainer. So in this session of the NDTV Explainers, we tell you what exactly is the National Herald case. So it's important to know what is National Herald. Well, the National Herald was founded by Jawaharlal Nehru in 1938. This is a flow chart that we have prepared for your easy understanding. Associated Journals Limited, that is AJL, used to publish the National Herald in the year 1938. But Herald closed down in 2008 with a debt of over 90 crore rupees. Then if you see what happened was, AJL was started by Jawaharlal Nehru at a cost of 5,000 rupees, but other freedom fighters were also shareholders and it did not belong to any individual. You see, this particular information right here is very crucial. I'm zooming in. This information is very crucial and you will know soon. It did not belong to any individual. Now in 2010, AJL had 1,057 shareholders. But in 2011, AJL Holdings transferred to Young Indian Limited. Now, what is YIL? Young Indian Limited was set up in the year 2010. The then Congress General Secretary Rahul Gandhi was its director, and Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi held 76% shares. Now, juxtapose this with the original company AJL, which had 1,000 plus shareholders. Other freedom fighters were shareholders and it did not belong to any individual, but now Sonia and Rahul Gandhi held 76% shares, and that's where the allegation begins. AJL shareholders questioned the company takeover by the Gandhis. Some of them, namely former Law Minister Shanti Bhushan and then former Chief Justice of Allahabad and Madras High Court, Markandeya Katju. So what did they say? They said, we were not served notice when YIL took over AJL, which means Young Indian Limited took over Associated Journals Limited. The original complainant in this case, Subramaniam Swamy, alleged that AJL takeover was malicious to gain assets worth 2,000 crore rupees, to which the Congress has said that the YIL was incorporated to ensure AJL remain debt-free. Now, he also named Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Motilal Vora, Oscar Fernandez, Suman Dubey and Sam Pitroda in this case. Now, the complainant said that YIL paid only 50 lakh rupees to obtain the recovery rights of 90 plus crore rupees, and AJL owed this money to the Congress party, to which the Congress said that YIL was incorporated to basically ensure that Associated Journals remained debt-free, that it does not remain under any debt. Then this matter goes to the Enforcement Directorate, where the ED also is questioning, the ED also is inquiring. 90.25 crore rupees given as loan from party funds, that's the allegation, to restart the newspaper, which was used to repay debt. Thus an allegation that there was money laundering here, that you laundered money. You took some money from the party funds and tried to utilize it by converting the company and making it in your name and making yourself a majority shareholder. Now, the ED is investigating these allegations of money laundering since 18th of September 2015, to which the Congress party says, how can ED investigate the allegations of a private complainant, and that too when this new company has been set up under the provisions of the Companies Act, where it is a not-for-profit company. Essentially, no shareholder can gain access to any resources of this company. So the Congress says there is no question that arises of amassing assets worth 2,000 crore rupees. So that's the whole story for you in a nutshell, explained with the help of this flow chart. Okay, I want to introduce Mr. Vijay Jolly, leader of the BJP, and Pawan Kheda, spokesperson of the Congress party. Thank you very much, Mr. Kheda. First, I want to begin by asking you, we saw this Satyagraha on the roads of Delhi, to which the BJP said that this is an attempt by the Congress party to cover up an act of corruption, thus you are supporting corruption. How do you respond?
Where is the corruption? To merit PMLA or to attract PMLA, there has to be money laundering. Where was the money laundered? Not one asset of AJL was transferred to Young India, number one. Number two, the Election Commission of India, in response to Dr. Subramaniam Swamy, clearly said this is not illegal. Where is the corruption is what I want to understand. Just because the ED is so busy that they cannot go to Karnataka for their 40% commission minister. I haven't heard the ED knock at the doors of that minister. Why is the ED being treated as a private army of the BJP? We want to know. And then we are asked, अरे आप सड़क पर क्यों आए? क्यों नहीं आएंगे? हम क्या अपने नेता को छोड़ देंगे? हम तो नेता के साथ खड़े रहेंगे. We will show them the mirror. We will expose their real face. The ED can't go to Karnataka. We are surprised. Where is the wrongdoing? Where is the money laundering? Has any property of AJL been transferred to Young India?
Would you like to respond, Mr. Vijay Jolly? Mr. Vijay Jolly, the Congress basically says
access to some media.
Yeah.
Most of your media doesn't mean that they'll get away with falsehood and spreading lies about us.
Vijay Jolly, the Congress party says, and we've seen their response, they say that this was a case which was closed and then reopened, and the point is that there is no illegality involved and no money laundered. They say that here is a case where a not-for-profit company was formed under the provisions of the Companies Act, and the new shareholders cannot even take out a single penny of the assets of the previous company. So where is the question of money laundered to gain access? How would you respond?
Congress Satyagraha is a public drama to protect the corruption accused Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi. I would have accepted whatever Pawan was saying was right had Rahul gone with a clean mind and as a law-abiding citizen and not like a street politician. I wish to remind the Congress leaders, Gujarat Chief Minister Narendra Modi was interrogated by SIT on 27th March 2010. He was questioned for more than 11 hours. And at that time, CBI was known as a Congress Bureau of Investigation. But cool, calm, composed, Congress targeted then Chief Minister of Gujarat, Narendra Modi, did not take his party MPs or his party karyakartas on the street along with him to Gandhinagar during the course of the SIT questioning Modi.
No, so your allegation is that this is not a show of strength, this is an attempt to intimidate the investigating agency.
I hope.
No, because that was the allegation of Smriti Irani in her press conference. Let's see what Mr. Kheda has to say to this.
Staged a state.
Mr. Kheda, had Rahul Gandhi been a law-abiding citizen, he would have gone there normally in a car and not create a spectacle. That's the allegation.
If they have not done anything wrong, they will come out scot-free.
Sanket,
yeah.
As a political party, we have every right to peacefully protest. We were not entering the Enforcement Directorate office. Why were we stopped? The way we were roughed up, we were put in thanas. The entire city's thanas were full of Congress workers. What is there? Why are you afraid? And Mr. Vijay Jolly, I have known him for 22 years now. Mr. Jolly should I remind you of the internal politics of BJP in 2010? जब नरेंद्र मोदी को अडवाणी जी ने अनटचेबल बना दिया था.
Talk about the charges which
एक
were
second,
brought
एक
during
second. Don't
the
interrupt.
Congress.
Don't interrupt. Don't interrupt. I did not interrupt you. I did not interrupt you. I
Jolly ji,
request
one by
you
one,
not
please.
to interrupt. I have known you as a graceful MLA of Delhi Assembly. I know you are a graceful man. Don't interrupt, please.
Then I also
Please
have
do
a
not
right to
interrupt.
continue.
You are
One
a
by one,
graceful
please,
man.
one by one.
Don't interrupt.
Mr. Jolly, one
Because
by one.
I
By
want
the way,
to
we are getting
speak.
some information. Mr. Kheda, we
Yeah.
are getting some information that Mr. P. Chidambaram has fractured his rib as a result of all the pushing and jostling that happened. This is information which has come in from the Congress party that former Union Minister and senior leader P. Chidambaram suffered a fracture in his left rib after he was pushed away by the police.
Sanket, they roughed up Mr. K.C. Venugopal. They pushed me around. They look at what Mr. Chidambaram has gone through. Look at what Mr. Harish Rawat has gone through. We've all gone through this, but anyway, that's part of our struggle. That's not an issue. Mr. Jolly, I must remind you, in 2010, the BJP under Advani had instructed all your MPs not to accompany Narendra Bhai Modi, not to strengthen him. He was an untouchable for Mr. Advani then because Mr. Advani was afraid of his rising popularity. तो आप मुझे ना ये मत सिखाइए, मुझे आपकी पार्टी का इतिहास आपसे ज्यादा मालूम है और उनमें से आप भी एक शामिल थे. आप भी नरेंद्र मोदी से डरते थे, घबराते थे, उनके पास नहीं दिखना चाहते थे क्योंकि आडवाणी जी नाराज हो जाएंगे. इसलिए आप मुझे मत बताइए आपकी पार्टी की उस वक्त क्या पॉलिटिक्स थी. मुझे मालूम है आपकी उस वक्त क्या पॉलिटिक्स थी. इसलिए मुझे मत ये बताइए कि 2010 में मोदी जी अकेले गए, 2010 में मोदी जी अकेले थे, 2010 में आडवाणी जी ने मोदी जी को अकेला छोड़ दिया था. तो इसलिए मुझे मत सिखाइए. आपको आपके बारे में भी मैं जानता हूँ. आप भी डरते थे उस वक्त कि कहीं मोदी जी के साथ फोटो नहीं आडवाणी जी देखने. Don't tell me. And unfortunately for a good man like you, अब मोदी जी को लगता है कि आप आडवाणी जी के खेमे के हो तो आपको साइड में बैठा रखा है. तो छोड़ दीजिए ये सब बातें.
राहुल
अब
गांधी
आपने शुरू किए तो मुझे बतानी पड़ रही. नहीं तो विजय जॉली जी आज दिल्ली का चेहरा होता. लेकिन मोदी जी को लगता है आप आडवाणी जी के आदमी हैं. तो आप अपनी इंटरनल पॉलिटिक्स को क्यों मेरे साथ मेरे मुंह से कहलवाना चाह रहे हैं? Why do you want me to expose your internal politics? I know your internal politics. I know उस वक्त आप पर कितना दबाव था. मैं आपको कब से जानता हूँ. आप पर कितना दबाव था मुझे नहीं मालूम है क्या.
I love you since the time.
I know you love me, but I love this country more.
This public display of this PDA that you are having, can we please put this aside?
Why did Rahul?
उस वक्त आडवाणी जी का आपने साथ दिया था मोदी जी के खिलाफ. मुझे तो मालूम है आपकी कहानी और मुझे बड़ा बुरा लगता है आप जैसा आदमी. आज देखो मुख्यमंत्री का एक चेहरा होना चाहिए था दिल्ली में, लेकिन आपको घर बैठा दिया. I don't like this. I don't like what Mr. Modi is doing to you. Mr. Modi is being vindictive to you. वो आपसे भी बदला ले रहे हैं, वो हमसे भी बदला ले रहे हैं. आपको तो हमारे साथ आना चाहिए इस लड़ाई में. इस सत्याग्रह में विजय जॉली शुड बी विथ अस. बिकॉज़ आपके साथ भी मोदी जी वही कर रहे हैं. आपसे भी बदला ले रहे हैं. उस वक्त आपने गलत थोड़ी किया. आपने आडवाणी जी का साथ दिया, कोई गलती नहीं थी.
मैंने भारतीय जनता पार्टी का साथ दिया.
आपने आडवाणी जी का साथ दिया, आपने ठीक किया. आपने उस वक्त मोदी जी को अकेला छोड़ दिया, आपने ठीक किया. आज आपके साथ क्या कर रहे हैं मोदी जी, बदला ले रहे हैं. देखिए कितनी गलत बात है. लेकिन छोड़िए, आप आ जाइए सत्याग्रह में. चलिए अभी शाम को चलना है फिर से ईडी के बाहर. आ जाइए,
कांग्रेस पार्टी is free to approach the court of law.
आ जाइए, आप भी आ जाइए. ये बदला लिया जा रहा है आपसे. नरेंद्र मोदी जी has left you high and dry. You deserve to be
composed
faced
mind.
of Delhi in the
Okay, you know, this is less about Mr. Pawan Kheda and Mr. Vijay Jolly and the perceived discrimination. The point is, at this moment, Mr. Vijay Jolly, why do you feel that the Congress party is pressurizing the enforcement directorate? Why? I mean, let me just ask you a question. If they want to take out the Julus, let them.
You see, if a law-abiding citizen of the country behaves like a law-abiding citizen, he should have followed in the footsteps of my Gujarat Chief Minister, what Modi did on 27th March 2010, and not have enacted a political drama going with thousands of karyakartas.
No, my point is, let's just assume for argument's sake, if I were to assume that this is political drama, okay, let's say this is political drama, Congress is indulging in theatre. My question is, how does this impact the outcome of the investigation? Are you saying ED will get frightened?
I will tell you. This is a move to pressurize the constitutional authorities. If you take action against us, we are there to put and build up The Congress party pressure through public demonstration. This is not accepted.
Okay, quick response of Mr. Pawan Kheda. We have another discussion. Yeah, Mr. Kheda.
Mr. Vijay Jolly, enforcement director, सड़क पर अगर कांग्रेस के कुछ लोग खड़े हो जाएंगे उससे दब जाएगा, ऐसा आपने आदमी बैठा रखा है क्या एनफोर्समेंट डायरेक्टर? आज तो आपने पूरी पोल खोलते चले जा रहे हैं आप नरेंद्र मोदी जी की, कमाल कर रहे हैं आप. You are behaving like the Britishers. अरे साहब भीड़ मत इकट्ठी करो. Why are you afraid of people? Why are you afraid of protest? Why are you afraid of peaceful protest? You don't understand the language of peaceful protest. You don't understand the language of democracy. What is your problem? Then come, we'll teach you what democracy is. Come, we'll teach you what Satyagraha is. We have been trying to teach you
we're still waiting for that questioning to be over. I have to end this discussion. Mr. Pawan Kheda as well as Mr. Vijay Jolly, thank you very much for joining us on discussion number 1. We'll get you visuals of when Rahul Gandhi finally emerges from that enforcement directorate hearing. The day is not over, at least as of this moment. Our second discussion is on IPL TV rights and digital rights, record price at which they've been sold. Let me quickly introduce our guests who may help us in decoding what this IPL big buck theory actually means. Harish Thawani, former BCCI home, internationals and IPL overseas broadcaster. We also have Amrit Mathur, advisor, Dream 11 and cricket administrator and columnist, ex-general manager of BCCI. Thank you very much to the two of you. Mr. Thawani, can you explain to us and decode what this means in a time when we are in a pandemic? Digital rights, TV rights, record heights, almost next to the NFL at 130 crore rupees per match. IPL, each game is going to be around 107.5 crore rupees each match. What does this mean, Mr. Thawani?
Would you like me to give you a commercial analysis or a jingoistic analysis?
I guess we have very limited time for a very detailed commercial analysis. I know you're full of it, you're full of information, but for the lay viewer, how does one perceive this?
Okay, so for the lay viewer, the way I see it is, and right now the auction is not over, so we will have to rely upon informed sources that tell us that Star is the successful bidder for the TV rights. And Viacom TV18/Jio is the successful bidder for the package B of the digital rights. Assuming that information that we are told is correct, I think Star has done a smart thing. They have the incumbent advantage. They've been in the seat for the last 5 years. They understand the revenues. And on the TV side, I think while there's no money to be made at their bid price of, let me just refresh my memory, approximately 23,575 crores over the 5 years. There's probably not much in the P&L for that. But I suspect it's a break-even. Quick maths on that tells you they should be able to make 34 crores a match average over the 5 years on ad revenue, which leaves a gap of 1,900 crores for subscription revenue per annum. Two experts I spoke with in the subscription industry, cable and satellite TV respectively, felt that it's achievable. It's a stretch, but it's achievable. So I think they've used their incumbent advantage to get the figure right. It's interesting that while they had the right to continue bidding to challenge the digital winner, and they put up a small challenge this morning for 2 rounds, they then abandoned it and let the digital go to somebody else. I think the digital player in this case has seen something strategic, which I can't see. Tactically, from a P&L point of view, it's a no-brainer. It's going to lose money. The match on that is simple. Digital should get you an average of 17 crores a match of revenues over the next 5 years, which leaves a subscription gap of 2,700 crores per annum. And I just can't see how that is achievable. So there's a strategic play out here, whether it's to do with the Jio forthcoming IPO rumored to come in the next 1 year, or a deeper data set, gathering.
But
kind of.
Mr. Mathur, just want to understand, you see, from the time when people were glued on to the television as the primary source to consume a cricket match, an IPL match, you see people, whether it's a taxi driver or someone going back home in a Delhi metro or any other mode of transport, picking up the phone and watching this match on the app. So does that not explain where the greater potential lies, and does also explain the 20,500 crore rupees for the digital rights? I mean, do you see this space growing more and more than television?
Sanket, you are right. But just to look at the larger picture, this is the Chappar Bhadke moment for cricket and cricket revenue. Expected number being 50,000 crores over 5 years. So it shows the power of cricket. It's a tribute to the fans, to the numbers who support the game and the revenue it can generate. Also, it's a vindication and validation of the fantastic product that the IPL is. Look at it this way. It's a 40-over game, 3.5 hours, and it can generate 120 crores of revenue every time there's a match. Thirdly, as you mentioned correctly, it shows how the digital space has, become important. And that's been the trend last 5 years, and the trajectory going forward could be much, much more, higher. But there are 2-3 additional points in this. The board is raising, say, 50,000 crores from the sale of media rights, which means that it is split equally between the BCCI and the IPL teams. 25,000 crores to the board, which they will use for development, player welfare, infrastructure, whatever. And already there's an announcement today from the BCCI that the pension of 900 players, officials, etc. is being almost doubled. So the way the money is going to go, where I think it's already clear that everybody is going to gain because of this huge, increase in revenue. The interesting part is the other 25,000 crores over 5 years goes to IPL teams. Now that's profit, and it's money which is perhaps going out of the system into private hands as profit, which is fine because there were these brilliant people who invested in a property 15 years ago, and now they're in a situation where their annual profit is more than the price they paid for the asset. So in a way, it's fantastic business. The people laughing most are the IPL owners who are guaranteed phenomenal profits going forward. And I think they're the ones who are happiest.
No, I want to know and understand whatever happened to this great buzz about who watches IPL anymore. Do you remember this conversation had started happening, I think last year, that who's really interested in these IPL matches anymore? Yes, there is buzz around them, but not the same way it used to be back in the day. I mean, does that, this rights and the amount being mentioned here nips that entire conversation in the bud?
I think it does. IPL is a very strong property. It's a terrific cricket tournament. And all these numbers are vindication of all that. It's endorsement. It is a huge vote of support for the IPL. And the IPL, each team spends 90 crores in assembling a squad.
Correct.
Whereas the other competitors of the IPL, actually not really competitors, whether it's 100 or it's the Big Bash or it's the CPL, the amount they spend on players is about 10 to 12 crores. Exactly. So that is a gap. In the IPL, David...
Mr. Thawani, I just wanted to ask you, you compared this to the government's Jal Jeevan mission. Half of Manrega budget is this amount that we are talking about. I mean, many of the government schemes are not as expensive as this deal. Do you think that there is, I'm sure somebody must have done the math, enough ROI, as they say in your profession?
I think I said at the outset, I think the TV bid is probably a break-even number, so there is potentially not much ROI. I'm not sure about the digital numbers providing an ROI, and I'll stick my neck out. I think it's a loss-making proposition for the digital bidder at these prices, and it's got nothing to do with whether digital will grow faster than TV or TV will continue to dominate. I'm not making a forecast on that. I'm looking at today. The value of digital is approximately 40% of the value of TV on monetizable basis over the last 1 year. We all know the figures in the industry, and that will grow. But is it going to grow to 90% of TV or not? I mean, I don't want to complicate this discussion with the whole wholesale subscription model in the country. There's a legacy model which impacts your ability to grow revenue. It's as simple as we pay maybe 200 rupees a month for a mobile package, voice and data. Tomorrow, if somebody asks you to pay 1,200, you're going to rebel. And most people are going to disconnect their phones and say, I'll just stick to voice or whatever.
Correct.
So you can't jump revenues. You can bid revenues 2x, 3x of, you can buy properties at 3 times the price, but you can't sell the property at 3 times the price.
Interesting assessment. So where does this math end? That's going to be very interesting. Anyway, if Mr. Mathur is to be believed, this is good news at the end of the day.
Yeah,
good news for the game, good news for everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. With that, it's a wrap in this edition of Breaking News.